Oh wow, what do you know, it was him that I killed. Hello everybody, it's me, PMC StarVox, here in the factory map in SPT-AKI 3.7. Wait a second, no it's not. What am I, in the past now? 3.8.0, that's right, the fully updated version of SPT-AKI, which is almost all the way caught up with live VFT, but not quite, and we'll go over that later. But today, I want to talk specifically about the Realism Mod, because it's been updated, and there's a lot to talk about, and I get so many comments, so many questions about whether or not people should use it, questions about how they should use it, and how it's used in general, and whether or not they can disable the things that they don't like, or enable the things that they do like, to promote a more realistic experience in the game. But let's be clear, as soon as I clear this area around the dumpster real quick, that is. The SPT Realism Mod does not necessarily make Tarkov, Escape from Tarkov, a completely realistic game. In fact, nothing could make Escape from Tarkov a completely realistic game, despite its realistic, hardcore nature, if you will. It's, of course, built in that way, we all play it in that way. And the... Oh man, that looked rough. That looked rough. I caught him in a few different places. Look at that. One there, and one there, and they all kind of looked like super high up shots, shoulders or head, that I got him. So, this poor scav got his brains rearranged today. Anyways, the SPT Realism Mod does not make Escape from Tarkov completely realistic. Nothing would do that. There are a lot of mechanics that are built specifically for PvP meta and stuff like that that are difficult to defeat for single player, and that's exactly what the SPT Realism Mod is trying to do. It's trying to take those PvP meta aspects and those mechanics and make them all cater towards a single player experience, which is to say that they're redesigning, repurposing those mechanics for something like a single-player campaign in the Tarkov universe. And that's why I like it. There are a ton of features that are very useful and also just enjoyable, and also I think some that improve the quality of life inside Tarkov when playing the game. It makes a lot of the items more logical, it makes gun use more logical, it makes firefights more logical and more plausible. There he is. I thought he'd be over there. He's trying to shoot me, but he's not gonna succeed because I'm gonna run back over here, plug a new magazine into my AK, and then attempt, using of course the active aim stance in the Realism Mod, I'm going to be ready when he opens that door because my rifle will already be up, and I'll kill him doing that. This right here, of course, is another stance. I always use all the stances in the SPT Realism Mod. I like them a lot. This is the high ready right here. This is the low ready, of course. This is active aim, which, if you have the, if you're more familiar with a vanilla version of Tarkov, this is what happens when you've got some NVGs on or something blocking your face and you try to use a magnified optic. It'll cant the rifle, and sometimes you might be like, oh, I'd like to do that all the time so that I have a more centralized sort of aiming line for my gun, and you can do that. I put it on my middle mouse button. I just like to bring it up and bring it down when I'm at high ready or low ready. It just switches right back to that stance so that I don't have to waste my arm stamina, which is of course a thing, and we'll go over that in just a moment. But now that I see that I think the majority of this place is now clear, at least over here, and I don't hear any more activity, we can take a sit down real quick and go over the Espionage entry. Oh, I heard those footsteps. Those might be above me, so I won't worry about that for just now. Let's go in here and take a look at the Realism Mod's Espionage entry. Okay, so most of these things I keep default. There's not a lot that I have changed for my own needs in the Realism Mod. I've simply gone in to enable some things that weren't enabled so that I could have them and enjoy them. Now, before we get into all this, be sure to go to the mod page on the SP Tarkov site for Realism Mod. There's a ton of information, it changes a lot about the game, and it is very much worth your time to go through and read exactly what you're going to be in for. However, I don't want you to be intimidated and think that if you install the Realism Mod, you won't be able to just jump into the game and start figuring things out, because you actually will. There are some things that are plenty intuitive, some things that are just fine, and they don't change the game for the worse or anything like that. The first section I never disable. This has zero shift, which gives the reticle a chance to move off of its target while firing based on some stats, just to add a more realistic twist to the aiming and firing in the game. This right here changes up the sensitivity penalty for your weight and inertia when using gear. These right here are patches to fully prevent you from being able to use magnified optics when using a face covering shield or some goggles like an NVG set. The second section is awesome and introduces things like knockdown and disarming, as well as has an experimental ragdoll fix for when you used to kill somebody and their body would like fly up into the air for no reason. That doesn't tend to happen anymore. It adds extra hit sounds, which are dependent on whether you strike flesh or armor, and they're very helpful. I like them a lot. And it also adds additional hit zones, and that complements the armor system that's now new in live VFT. Definitely read the mod page about this so you can get the specifics if you want. You will find that in practice, it's really not that much different when you shoot someone or when you get shot, because damage is so difficult to deal with and so dangerous in the Realism mod. Now, you may as well be dead as soon as you take several hits anyways, especially if you don't have the gear to heal yourself. So with this, if you shoot a bot in the legs, or if you get shot in the legs, there's a chance that you'll be knocked prone and you'll have to recover from that. And here, if you get shot in the arm, there's a chance, or of course the bots as well, there's a chance to drop your weapon or to make the enemy drop their weapon, and they'll have to deal with that. They're going to have injured arms and only be able to use their melee weapon. Recoil, something very, very important to the majority of Tarkov players. I find the SPT Realism recoil to be superior to the regular Tarkov recoil, and it feels very, very good. I haven't changed any of these values, and of course I have this enabled. This is just how they come. You can always check to make sure that they're all default value by hitting the reset button on the right. There are even more advanced recoil settings, which again I have not changed. The only thing I've done is enable the hybrid recoil system and for all weapons, because I like it a lot. It's super comfortable and I think it's very actiony and dynamic, and helps me to shoot better, I think. Like I said, the rest of the values I haven't changed, and I probably won't change them. These get a little bit too specific for me, and I think that if I was to start dealing with them, it would be like a character creation. I would just get lost in the mix. This section right here actually adds stats to weapon inspection displays. So when you actually pull open their inspection field to look at the information that's about them, I'm pretty sure that's still up above me, so I'm not too worried about that. I hope you don't mind me explaining this in the heat of a raid. This section right here adds stats to the weapon inspection window, and I just have them all set to default. You can see right here what they add, and of course, all these things have tooltips. If you hover over them, they'll explain exactly what they do most of the time. Section 6, another thing I have not changed. These are all the default values. This increases in accuracy to add a more realistic twist to all gunfire, and of course you can adjust the malfunction durability threshold and sway intensity. Specifically, this changes the intensity of aim sway and inertia, so when you're like moving around and firing. Section 7, the health and med settings. So the SPT Realism mod, I encourage you to completely read about this on the mod page, has an overhaul for health and medicine in the game. It is not so extreme that you won't be able to get a hold of it, I promise. It's actually pretty logical. A lot of people either want this very much or don't want it at all, and they're very intimidated when they hear about this or read about it, and they start going down and seeing what all changes. But trust me, it's really not that intimidating. So this right here changes the hydration and energy loss rates, which will make it so that there's a delay on provisions that you use, so you won't get the effects from the provisions immediately, like drinking a bottle of water doesn't completely refill your hydration right away. There'll be a delay so that it happens over time. Of course, you can adjust the drain rate for both hydration and energy with these sliders here. This enables a tourniquet effect, which will drain the HP of a limb that it's used on, despite having to use it to stop bleeding, which of course is more realistic. These two settings right here block the consumption of provisions and also the use of healing items when they are gear items in the way of your ability to consume or heal an injury. So if you've got armor blocking your torso, you'll have to use this keybind right here, double P, to toss down the gear that's on your torso so that you can then heal yourself. What's more, if you've got something blocking your face, you won't be able to eat or drink. That makes sense, right? This right here adds adrenaline to the game whenever you get shot or shot at. You've probably seen this a lot in my videos. It adds a painkiller effect, as well as tunnel vision and tremors when you get shot at, and of course that's more realistic. What's more, it's not so bad that it detracts from my ability to play. It's not like the tremors aren't so bad that it becomes impossible to shoot or act. Trust me, it's not that bad. I just think it's cool and immersive. Now, with the health and med overhaul running, you want to make sure that you've always got enough medication to heal yourself, or else just try to avoid being injured at all, because it's going to be a lot of trouble. But you want to use that against the enemy by fighting to injure and staying in cover until they're so damaged that they can barely fight back, or they're on the retreat, making it much easier for you to take them down. Section 8 adds modifiers to the material of the ground that you walk on, as well as the slope if you should modify them. Section 9 has to do with deafening and audio, so this enables a deafening mechanic. The more you fire without hearing protection, the more loud sounds you're exposed to, the more tinnitus and deafness you will deal with. And of course you can adjust all these sliders, which I have not, I think these are all still at the default values, yep, to decide just how long an effect can last or how long it takes to make an effect take hold. The weapon speed modifiers in Section 10 change things like your aim speed, rechambering speed, and quick load multipliers. I don't think I've changed any of these. You could always make your reload times faster. Sometimes it's more realistic with particular weapons to have a faster reload speed, I think, than the regular default Escape from Tarkov speed, so that may become handy at some point, but I don't usually change these. The weapon stances and positions I very much like. I love to use the stances. Right now I don't have short stocking set, but I have all of these things enabled except for idle arm stamina drain, and that's mostly because I'm recording videos and I forget that I'm holding my gun up. To lose arm stamina makes you shake with tremors, and that's kind of a pain. I like to use the toggle for active aim so that I don't have to keep holding it down. I've put active aim on middle mouse so that I can just do that very quickly, and I also like to have the reload from active aim enabled as well. Now, there are indeed more advanced settings. If you hit advanced settings up here in the top of the menu, you will see more that's available to deal with, but I have not changed any of those settings. If you want a game to play out like mine does, then you don't need to deal with that very much at all. What I do is I'll go into the stances and modify them for like screenshots or certain clips and stuff like that, but that's pretty much the extent of what I've done with the advanced settings in the SPT Realism mod. Now, what I like most about this mod, of course, I mean, like, it adds a ton of features, and there's more than what's visible there in the Espionage menu. Trust me, I very much encourage you to go read the description on the mod page, because there's a lot to go over. And even though it seems like too much, it really isn't. It bombards you with information, but I mean, that's kind of just like how life is, or engineering, for example. There's a ton of information all around what it is that you have to do and use that you probably won't have to worry about all at once in the moment. It's always wise to do things like this right here. You can see that my hydration is falling. I've been standing around for a while. Observe. The bottle of water did not instantly replenish all of my hydration points. It's going to replenish them steadily over time. That's not a big problem. It's not like I'm going to die of thirst or anything like that. No need to worry. I managed to catch it in time, and I'll be fine. Of course, if you had something like super water, you probably wouldn't have to take another drink again for the entire raid, but I don't. What's more, the change of rate when it comes to the draining of hydration and energy makes it so that I don't have to constantly eat food like in some other conditions and with some other mods. The primary thing that I like about SPT Realism Mod is that it changes up my meta for firefighting. Wait, for firefights. Firefighting is a different thing altogether, isn't it? Like I said before, fighting to injure and trying to remain in cover and uninjured myself really changes a lot away from the main, I suppose, PvP meta that I was talking about earlier with Tarkov, which is sort of, despite the hardcore nature of it and despite how, like, simulation it is, I suppose, there's still a lot of run and gun that's intended or deliberate with the game. It can be more rewarding to sprint around and shoot a lot, as opposed to staging up your shots, firing from safety, and sort of attempting to remain uninjured. Because a lot of games, that's kind of just how it is, you know? Like, I realize and understand that that's the best way to go about playing a game on a computer, because it's not like I can control with a whole lot of, you know, fine control, that is, what my character's hands and arms and legs and feet do to make him, you know, behave like a trained soldier. But I'm still doing okay. All these mechanics are very beneficial. If you like the way the recoil seems, that's because I'm using the SPT recoil, that's because I'm using the Realism Mod's recoil. Oh my goodness, even that was dangerous. But I think I have... Oh, did he die? Wow, I got him through the metal. That was close. I don't actually know where that came from. So an additional feature that, oh wow, hey buddy. Got him. He was not paying attention. And I see that guy over there. Is he, are we, everything good? Hello? So today I was just going over the mechanics and the, sort of changes to the SPT Realism mod. And then this happened. So no matter what you do, don't forget that SPT-AKI is still very much a very modded, sort of sandbox variant of Escape from Tarkov, and just about anything can happen. If weird things do happen, if any of the mods don't behave just the way you want them to, if things don't seem as realistic as you want, just keep messing with them. Just keep changing the settings, keep trying different raids, just keep going. Through attrition, you will find exactly what you want, and you're gonna have a good time configuring everything and making it all behave right. Most of the fun that I have with SPT-AKI is getting Tarkov to behave in each of the ways that I want it to, with all the cool mods and gear, going through all the quests and interacting with each of the quest items and each of the quest areas on all the maps. Doing that work enables me to experience that much more of the game and all the breadth that the developers wanted us to be able to, and more. Of course, with all these mods. The SPT community would like to thank Fontaine, the developer of the SPT Realism Mod. We appreciate your hard work very much and enjoy the mod a lot. It is critical to the way that I enjoy SPT-AKI, and I never play without it. Please continue to do a great job and let me know if I can help. There are many more demonstrations on the way. Next up I'm going to be talking about SAIN and donuts, of course. And with each video we're going to be demonstrating more and more mechanics of the SPT Realism Mod as they become relevant. A lot of the scenarios are difficult to provoke and hard to set up ahead of time, so you'll see and I'll point them out as things go. As always, you can find us on the Club StarVox Discord server for more SPT-AKI information and all the things that I do. The SPT Pub Discord server is still the primary source for information and updates and announcements. And of course, only use the SP Tarkov site for SPT-AKI files and downloads and updates and things and all the right information. You should never have to pay for it, it's always free, and all the mods are also free. Don't get tricked, don't get surprised. And disregard any strange business practices happening right now, because SPT-AKI is all about you enjoying this simulator on your own in the way that you think is correct. So tune in for the next SPT show where I'll discuss the SAIN mod, and of course more about the SPT Realism mod as we go along. Leave a comment telling me about anything you want to hear or see further about all this. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.